Hello, we just added a brand new feature to SureCatch, and I kind of want to document it real quick in a video before we start making actual documentation for it. But this is going to be a quick run through a couple of our webhook setups. We have got two different types of webhooks. We've got incoming and outgoing. First, I'm going to show real quick how to do an incoming. This is an existing one. When you create it, you give it a name, obviously. You should give it a description. I'm just doing testing now. So we've got options to enable signing, which would put a security code on it, or options for enable profile creation, which means if we're going to import one, or if we receive a incoming webhook and there is no match, it would create a new profile with this checked. With it unchecked, it would just disregard it. We've got the link identifiers, which is the key. In this case, we're using email and the profile property of email. So whatever value we send in via email, it'll look through our database in SureCatch and find the email property that matches it. Then we're mapping first name to first name, last name to last name, email to email. Once we save that, it generates this webhook URL right there. I am going to enable signing first to kind of show you that demonstration. So if I come into Postman and I do a post, and this is that same URL as what's up above there. So I'm posting to that URL, and with the body, within the body, I have the raw, and it's just a JSON of that value, right? As far as I've got every value that I had tagged below email, first name and last name. So email, first name and last name. So I'm going to be sending this through. Actually, let's make this something else. Let's call this Brian. Just to make sure. Oops. This is Brian. So if I were to look, this profile, this profile is this, and there is no data on this whatsoever. Oh, you can see it was acquired from a webhook. So that was the setting over here. So as soon as I send that, it is going to, pardon me, it is going to update that profile with Brian Meinders. I do have, let's go back into the webhook real quick. I do have enabled signing with the secret being Bingy. Let me show you real quick what that looks like. So within Postman, when we have that enabled signing, we need to have a pre-request script. And it just follows this little format here, and I can copy and paste that to you as well, with the code in there, or the secret in there. So let's do it without the secret real quick. Let's make it wrong. The Y. And send it. And we're going to get signature invalid because we have the wrong code. Let's try it with the right code. And we get success. So let's move that over here and come back to that profile, this profile, and give it a refresh. And it's received those names from the webhook. So that's how an incoming one would do it. We can also do that. Let's try it real quick without signing. Save. And then we come in here and we go wrong. So we know it's coming in. This should still go through, and it did, because it is not checking for that signing. So whether it's wrong or not wrong, it's not going to matter. So to go back to this profile, if we do a refresh, we'll see that it did update with that as well. So that is the incoming. That's how we would receive a webhook. Let me show you the other side of that is the outgoing. So this is an outgoing webhook. And essentially it's pretty much as simple as the incoming ones. You give it a name and a description. The webhook URL, I'm using a test site right now. It's webhook site or webhook.site, and it generates just this kind of a fake type of place where I can send it. It's designed for testing webhooks. So if I look at the URL that I've got on this webhook, that is actually, let's see, 5D6. That is that right there where it's telling me to post to. So I've got this webhook that's sending to here, and all I need to do is map the data that I want to send. So I'm selecting the profile property of email. I'm going to send it across as email. Test value as test value 1, test value 2 is test value 2. So this is a little bit interesting because how do we call it, right? How do we send this? We save it, and we can call this via an observer. So in this case, one of our actions within the observers, let's add a rule here. One of the new actions here is run webhook. And then we just select any of the outgoing webhooks that we have currently set up. So I've currently got this. When this button is clicked, we're going to run the webhook after form. What that button is actually the submit button from this conversation. So I'm getting a little bit into the weeds, but the way this would work in the reality is this conversation is going to appear this conversation is going to appear on this website because it gets launched by this. So if I navigate to that website, it's right here, and do a refresh. This is obviously not a pretty conversation by any means. This is just made for testing whether we can capture that data and relay it almost immediately. So question 1 is getting saved to, let's go back to this setup. Question 1 is being saved to test value 1. And question 2 is being saved to test value 2. And if you look at this UUID for the conversation, that 4A2226 or 4A266, that is actually this conversation. So you can see when div underscore dot button, submit button basically is what this is telling you is the submit button is clicked. We're going to run that webhook. So let's go there. The first one is going to be saved to that value. Let's go CG. CG. So the submit button, what that did was it caused that webhook sent after form to be run, which means this ran. It should have taken my email value, the test value 1 and the test value 2, the C and the G that I just responded to, should have gotten sent to this page. This webhook site is nice. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time for it to update. There we go. And there you can see I had sent this to this URL with my email, test value 1 and test value 2. And that's a relatively complex, simple way to do it, but a relatively complex concept that we're able to capture the responses that they're clicking on that current conversation. And once they submit it, we can immediately grab those values from the profile and send them in a webhook like this. Pretty game-changing stuff for SureCatch right now. Thank you.